call Joanne Hayes.
Tēnā koe.
Just one moment. Is this a split call?
No.
Joanne Hayes.
Thank you. I'm pleased to take a call on this important debate today, Mr. Speaker, as the only female speaker on this side of the House. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge our Pacific parliamentarians up in the Speakers Gallery. Talofa lava, malo e lele, bula vanaka, whakalofa, lahi atu, ki orana, whakatalofa atu, malo ne, mauri, yokui, namaste, bonjour, g'day mate, kia ora and greetings. Nau mai haere mai ki te whareparama tō Aotearoa. I also want to acknowledge the ambassador sitting up in the gallery as well, Matua Shane Jones. Tēnā koe, Matua. Before I get into my speech, Mr. Speaker, I want to add my condolences to the families who lost loved ones in the earthquake on Monday in Kaikoura. It was in the early hours and it was a tragedy for them. I want to also acknowledge the resilient families and communities of Kaikoura and the Huranui. And I have found a whakatauki, Mr. Speaker, that was said in this House during the Christchurch earthquakes. And it goes like this. Ahakoa whati te manga, e takoto ana anō te kōhiwi. Although a branch may be broken off a tree, if the foundations are strong, the survival is assured. And I'm confident that the survival and the future prosperity of the Kaikoura and the east coast of that area and the farmland will once again be prosperous in the future, Mr. Speaker. So as the woman speaker on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about being a woman MP, how we get to being women MPs. I want to talk about encouraging Pacifica women to stand for office, to get in there and to show that you are just as good, if not better, than the male counterparts that you stand against. I want to talk about those because those were some of the issues that were brought up when we attended the PWPP in Samoa this year, Mr. Speaker. At this conference, we spoke about a lot of things, but we spoke mainly about Pacific Island women standing for office. And it is really, really important because women bring a certain element to a parliamentary debate, to Parliament. They bring about a softness that only women have. They think about things from a broader perspective as mothers, as daughters, as friends to each other. They bring about that openness that only women have because we are sisters, sisters as one. And Mr. Speaker, when we look across the House and we look at all the women in this House, that is exactly what we bring to the debates in this House. We have a group here called the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians. We are a cross-party group and our job is, our main core job is to support women within the Pacific areas to be able to stand not just for Parliament but also in the local government areas as well, Mr. Speaker. I want to talk about women's health because women know what women need. Women don't need to be told what they want. They know what they want, they know what they need, and they need that voice to be able to do that and to be able to express that. As I listened to the chair of our subcommittee, Alfred Ngaro, he mentioned 3 words, lead by example, and that's exactly what women do. Women parliamentarians, they lead by example, Mr. Speaker. We are strong. That is what we're here for. We are strong. Right. And we need to carry on that, and we need to demonstrate that and be role models for our daughters and our mokopuna. We need to do that. That is the burden that we carry. Is it a burden? No, it is a love. It is a love that we carry, Mr. Speaker. So the last few days that I have been participating in the Pacific Parliamentarian Forum, I have had some interesting discussions with a number of you. And one of them was an area around, and I'm moving across into some of the environmental issues faced within the Pacific Islands that haven't been discussed today. But one of the areas that I talked about with a couple of you was around domestic waste. It was actually around sanitation and the issues of sanitation on small islands and in some islands, some bigger islands. One of the areas that was about was how can New Zealand help the Pacific Islands to manage sanitation issues in the islands. And some of the things that I asked some of the MPs was, so what kind of information have you gained from that, from your discussions, from your meetings? And I'm pleased to say that New Zealand has been able to share information, to share ideas, to be able to hand over some precious information about how sanitation is managed here in New Zealand and what will actually work within the various and respective islands that you come from. And that, to me, you know, when we start picking up little pieces of information that we can take back to our respective islands, then we know that our forum, this forum here this year, is a big success, Mr. Speaker. The second area, which we were visited last week by two MPs from Kiribati. They came to talk about fisheries and the issues that they had with fisheries management in Kiribati. And some of the things that they talked about was managing their fishing zones and their fishing vessels. And I said to them when we met with them last week, I said, and were we able to help you? Were we able to share that information about how you manage fishing vessels, the staff, the whole area around looking after the fisheries area besides the ocean management side of things, but the business side of fisheries as well? And I was pleased to hear them say, yes, they have given us all the information that we need to be able to take home and sort out the things that will work for us in Kiribati, Mr. Speaker. Thirdly, I want to talk a little bit about coastal erosion because that is so big with climate change, with rising sea levels. And I guess the meeting that we had with Becca in Auckland actually helped for me to see the work that we're doing in the islands through Becca and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. So we can see the types of work around, especially around the management of coastal erosion. And as I was listening to the discussion that we had there in Auckland, Mr. Speaker, one of the presenters talked to me about going to Apia and actually helping with the sea wall and maintaining and strengthening the sea wall there in Apia. And I walked along that sea wall, Mr. Speaker, and it's lovely. It's absolutely beautiful there in Apia. And you can see that there needs to be some more help there to actually build it up and to strengthen it. And those are some of the things that this organisation, Becca, are doing. Not only did we see that at the presentation, we also saw extension of runways, rebuilding runways, making sure that existing runways are actually maintained so they're safe transport throughout the islands, because that is absolutely critical to the connection that the islands will have with other places besides New Zealand, but Australia. That is the key way, the transport in and out. And when we start to look at things like that, the impact of the Western world, of the Western, things, the trinkets of the Western world have made their way back to the islands, Mr. Speaker. And that the waste that has actually come from the Western world trinkets is actually starting to pile up in the islands, Mr. Speaker. Rusted old cars, plastic bottles, all of those things that we see here that we are managing, that are building up in the islands and making a very big headache for those living there. It's taking over, Mr. Speaker. And so anything where we can help to give some advice about how to manage that type of waste, and it's big type of waste, is something that New Zealand has a few tools in its kete that it will share with the islands, Mr. Speaker. Finally, as I start to wrap up my speech, Mr. Speaker, our Minister for Climate Change is in Marrakesh at the moment. And the Minister, our fabulous Minister for Ethnic Affairs, our Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Paseta Sam Lutuainga, talked a little bit about that, the COP22 Marrakesh 2016. And in that, our Minister got up and she did an amazing speech, but she also talked about being so proud to announce that in the agreement of the of the Paris Agreement, that she has advised the Secretariat of the United Nations that New Zealand's ratification of the Paris Agreement should also include tokelo. So that is absolutely amazing that all tokelo can be included in our agreement as well, Mr Speaker. It has been a privilege to stand and speak today, to be able to address our manuhiri up in the gallery. I hope that you have enjoyed your time here and will enjoy tomorrow, while we sit and watch you speak in the House. And I wish you well. Anytime that you need some help, please, the door is open for you to contact us here in New Zealand. So without any further ado, thank you.